Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Radio and Television Business Report Focus Video Podcast. It is presented by .fm, streaming, social, podcast, or broadcast. Get a .fm domain name by heading over to get.fm today. And today we are going to talk a little bit about the Radio Hall of Fame, which is accepting suggestions for 2026 nominees through Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. Not familiar with the Radio Hall of Fame? Well, this is the right podcast for you because we are introducing the co-chairman of the Radio Hall of Fame, Dennis Green. You may know him from his time at Westwood One and presently at Sun and Fun Media and another little company that you may be familiar with called Key Networks. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Dennis, and let's hear a little bit more about the Radio Hall of Fame and the current induction class nominations process. What can you share a little bit about some of the individuals that are up for induction, and what can you share a little bit about the Radio Hall of Fame itself? Because the audience may not be wholly familiar with how this is a little bit different from some of the other awards that you see across the year, including the Marconis.
Well, Adam, thanks for the opportunity to chat with you and chat with the folks out there to learn a little bit more about the Radio Hall of Fame. This year, in 2026, will be our 38th induction class, started back in 1988. Currently, there are 398 total inductees. That includes 355 individuals and then 39 shows. So we have shows that are inducted. We have individuals that are inducted. We have some that are both that are inducted. And so the way the process works is right now we're in the preliminary stage, accepting suggested nominations from anyone out there who wants to go to radiohalloffame.com and click on the nomination button, and you can put that suggestion in. And at the end of that process, the committee of 24 members of the Radio Hall of Fame nominating committee will get together in April, and we will start the process, and we will limit that down to 24 names or shows that will be on the docket and on the ballot to be voted upon this year at late May. And the voting takes place with a panel of over 900 executives from the industry, programmers, general managers, folks like yourself that are in the media as well, and they will decide who the six top vote getters that will get inducted into the 2026 class. And then to take that a step further, we have two additional inductions that we make, and that's in the executive category. These are folks that are not behind the mic, but have been in the corporate suite and have had a legendary career in the radio industry. And the committee will select two individuals in that category, and that will make up our 8-person induction class for 2026.
Now, the Radio Hall of Fame itself was founded by Emerson Radio Corporation in 1998, and the Museum of Broadcast Communications took over operations of the hall in 1991. Again, our audience may not be wholly familiar with what that exactly is, but we understand that there is an actual place in Chicago right off of Magnificent Mile where one can go and see exhibits and honorees. Is that correct?
It is. We're very excited, actually, at last year's induction ceremony in Chicago, and we will be back in Chicago again October 8th at the Fairmont Hotel. And that's a Thursday night. That's when we'll do the induction. But last year, we opened the new Museum of Broadcast Communications, which houses the Radio Hall of Fame Gallery. And we're in a new location on the West Loop over at 440 West Randolph. And you'll find an opportunity to see all of the members of the Hall of Fame, as well as exhibits about radio. Right now, we're doing one on the Loop in Chicago and its history in radio. So there is a physical Radio Hall of Fame that exists again within the Museum of Broadcast Communications in Chicago.
Now, you and Craig Kitchen are co-chairman of the Radio Hall of Fame. Both of you have Westwood One experience as part of your background. I'm wondering, Dennis, what led you to take this role with the Radio Hall of Fame when it came available? Was there something that you had always had an interest in? Was there a specific spark? Just curious as to what brought you to where you are today.
Well, it's a labor of love, Adam, for sure. I started with this when I was living in Chicago back in the 90s with something called the Junior Board. And Bruce Dumont, who was also the founder and chairman of the Museum of Broadcast Communications, had put me onto that group. It was a group of 30 and under radio personnel and folks that were interested in radio. And we would do events at the museum. And we would also sell raffle tickets at the Radio Hall of Fame. And at one point, Bruce came to me and said, "You can't be on the junior board anymore." I said, "Why not?" He goes, "Because you've aged out." I said, "Wow, so what does that mean?" He goes, "I'm putting you on the regular board." So I was on the regular board as a voting member of the committee that determined who was getting into the Radio Hall of Fame. And then several years later, I had the opportunity, Craig had taken over the chairmanship and asked if I wanted to join him as co-chairman. And you can't pick a better person, especially someone who's a Radio Hall of Fame member themselves, as Craig is. So we've been doing this now together for, I think, 7 or 8 years, sharing it. And it's definitely a labor of love. It's a lot of work to go through the suggested inductees. Just to give you an example, last year, we had, I think, 2,800 plus suggested nominees. Now, just to give that some perspective, there are some that get nominated over and over a couple hundred times, but we ended up having 180 plus nominations to the Radio Hall of Fame, which the committee then had to pare down to the 24 that made it on the ballot. So it's not an ezy process. The same thing with the executives. We pare that down, and that list is, I think, over 60 stations, 60 members, I should say 60 executives that have been suggested. And, everybody's worthy. There's some great stories. Right. What I really love about this is, I'll tell one story. Mary McCoy, who was inducted 2 years ago out of Conroe, Texas. Now, you have to get a map out as to where Conroe, Texas is. But what's interesting, someone submitted her name as a potential nominee and inductee, and she is a female midday radio host for country radio in the town of Conroe, Texas. Very small market. It's outside of Houston. But the point of it is that no one really knew who she was or is, but she's been on the air for over 70 years doing a midday radio show. That is just an amazing accomplishment. If that doesn't speak Hall of Fame, I don't know what does. And she was voted in. And it was just amazing. That year we did the induction in Nashville as we were in between the museum getting its new home. And she was actually asked to host the Opry when she was in that weekend. So it was just amazing. And stories like that are why we do this, just to learn about people who've had an impact on this industry. And they've inspired, hopefully, the next generation of broadcasters to come into radio. And of course, we also have people that are inducted that are in satellite radio. We've had some from Sirius XM, but they will come back to radio at some point. And they've all had careers on the air.
What is remarkable, I think, about the Radio Hall of Fame is that you don't see specific sets of call letters. It's not as if WGN has been inducted. What I was able to just kind of scroll up by going to radiohalloffame.com is an alphabetical listing of all of the honorees and inductees. And looking at some of these names, I see Jim Quello, who ran the FCC. I see Robin Quivers, who was and still is the sidekick to Howard Stern across satellite radio for now more than 20 years. And before that, across broadcast radio. Martha Quinn, first known as an MTV VJ, who now has a syndicated radio program. We see names like Pat St. John, who I grew up listening to on WPLJ in New York. John Tesh, who is in the spotlight again, thanks to the NBA on NBC. And Ryan Seacrest, the late Vin Scully, Michael Savage, Julie Talbot from Premier Networks, Jay Thomas, actor extraordinaire and morning host at 99X. Thank you, Erica Farber, for that. We, again, are just really taken aback by the breadth and depth of what the Radio Hall of Fame does. When you look back at the 2025 nominees and inductees, is there anything that specifically speaks out to you from that class compared to when you first got involved? Because the radio industry has certainly evolved over time, but when it comes to personality and talent, is there something that just stays true across all these years?
Well, and you picked a great place to start. I've had the pleasure of being involved for a couple of decades on this, but the 2025 class, and believe me, I think they're all amazing, but the 2025 class was special just because of the different folks that you had. Colin Cowherd, who certainly, and one thing, they're all legends. I mean, they're legendary broadcasters. They're iconic. They've done things and continue to do things to this day. Colin Cowherd, obviously from Fox Sports, Martha Quinn, who you mentioned, who has had a great career on radio. And when you learn about her story, starting at her high school radio station back in Long Island, Bob and Sherry from the AC category, who had been nominated a number of times and finally got the vote. Mojo from Detroit, amazing story. Alice Cooper, Alice Cooper, you would say he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and in the Radio Hall of Fame, and there's only a couple people that have that distinction. Scott Simon from NPR Radio, who gave a very impassioned speech when he gave his induction. And of course, you mentioned from the executive side, Julie Talbot, and of course, Mike McVeigh, who's done so much in this industry as probably the leading consultant, owner, programmer, not much that he hasn't done. And also from the urban side, Dee Dee McGuire from Compass Media, and then Shelley the Playboy Stewart. A lot of people didn't know, but this man is in his 90s. He is an amazing story. Civil rights activist, first African-American owner of an ad agency, could still go on the air today. Amazing. And when he did his induction, and he's in a wheelchair, and he stood up out of that wheelchair and gave his speech. I don't think anybody in the crowd, and we had an amazing crowd this year, over 360 people that were in attendance, were just blown away by the stories. And it's always about the stories of how these people made it in the industry. One thing that we're going to do in the coming months is we've established a YouTube channel, and Erica Farber, another Hall of Famer who's also on our committee, has interviewed the class from 2025, as well as some other inductees, and we're going to continue to catch up on that moving forward. But we're going to put their stories onto the YouTube channel, and then it will be displayed in the Radio Hall of Fame. So people want to hear about how they got into the business, why they got into it, what they learned from it, what others can learn. What we want to do is we want to attract that next generation of potential hosts or executives, producers, even engineers. We've inducted those as well from Marconi on down. Anybody that we could get that we have a story to tell, and it goes and it reaches a young broadcaster. One thing that Eric has done is every year at Table 8, we've identified it that way, she invites 10 students from a local university to come and enjoy the Radio Hall of Fame. And it just, when they come up afterwards and they say, gosh, thanks for letting us be here, this is just amazing. And so if you can reach just a few of those folks, that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. We're going to take a break right now before we come back with more from Dennis Green. You're watching the Radio and Television Business Report InFOCUS video podcast, and is presented by .fm.
Whether you're launching the next big podcast, building a vibrant social community, or broadcasting your brand to the world, .fm is your signal to stand out. Don't just streamline your success with .fm. Claim yours today at www.get.fm.
And we thank .fm for presenting this Radio and Television Business Report InFOCUS video podcast. Hi, I'm back. I'm Adam R Jacobson, speaking with Dennis Green. He also holds the role of Chief Operating Officer at both Sun and Fun Media and Key Networks. He's been in those positions now for 4 years. What can you share, first of all, about Key Networks and some of the things that it is doing in terms of fostering great radio programming and other behind-the-scenes efforts for radio stations across the U.S.?
Yeah, actually, it's been 8 years, if you can believe it. It goes
8 years
so fast. From when I left.
How did that happen?
I don't know. So I got a memo on that, and yeah, we're coming up on 8. But Key Networks.
Well, you know what it was? It was you became Chief Operating Officer in 2022. You are correct. You've been there since May of 2018, as I'm looking at my show
They
notes.
can't figure out what to do with me, Adam. I don't know. But no, Key Networks started as a a sister company to Sun and Fun Media, and it's a syndication company. We've had the pleasure to work with some great shows and talent. Mainly Bloomberg Radio. We are the exclusive home of Bloomberg that we distribute around the country. We've got a partnership with our friends at Beasley Media with the Backstage Country show and Dave and Chuck out of Riff in Detroit. And we work with a number of producer partners, basically going out and trying to offer services to stations as well as to advertisers that want to get involved in our network. So we're excited about growing this even more. We're never going to be on the level of some of the bigger networks, but we like being a boutique network and one that has some great brands and has good inventory that advertisers are interested in as well.
Now, what can you share a little bit about Sun and Fun Media? Because that is a little bit different. And from what I understand, it's more promotional market type of stuff. Again, here at the Radio and Television Business Report, we don't have a lot of the same knowledge base as our sister publication, Radio Inc. magazine. So Dennis, what can you share a little bit more about when it comes to Sun and Fun Media in particular?
Well, it is definitely different. It's been around for 29 years. We'll celebrate our 30th year in business later this year. We work with over 1,600 radio stations, and it really is. It's marketing and sales-based. What we do is we work with stations to find goods and services that they would like to offer to their stations, to their clients locally, for giveaway, for promotions, local advertisers, you name it. And it's really in three banks. One is trips. The company was founded on that. We provide travel around the world, around the country, wherever anybody wants to go, whether it's a concert, it's a ball game, the Super Bowl, the Final Four, the Masters, you name it. All very nice trips that you can either drive away or fly away to. And they can be used for internal incentive. Like I said, it could be used for a local client and they want to put a package together and offer them the trips. We can do that. We have a full team of fulfillment folks here in our offices in Orlando that will take care of the trip, everything from booking the travel to taking care of hotel, air accommodations, excursions, you name it. So it's trips. It's also reward cards that we offer to radio stations to use in different denominations, again, as incentives, as something they could give away on the air if they want to. They could use it any way they want. And then finally, if stations have a need and they want to purchase merchandise and they want to use their own vendor to do it, we can do bill pay. So we provide them with a bill pay account and they can simply send us the invoice for whatever vendor they want to use. And it could be used for pretty much anything that they want. And the whole business model is predicated on barter. It's all barter. We work with the stations and the stations provide inventory to us here at Sun and Fun, and we turn that into the revenue that we make. And it's a very simple transition and transaction, I should say. One thing that we found is that what is the one thing that all these stations have? They've all got inventory. If they can put their inventory to use and get things that they can turn it into revenue on their end or save on operational costs, that's what we're here for. And that's what we do. And that's what Sun and Fun has made its business on. And we work with everybody, big market, small market, meal size, you name it. As long as there's audience there that we put into our formula to figure out what we can provide, then we will work with them. And it's been a really good partnership with the stations. I think when we talk to our stations, there's no one that says, boy, we don't want this. We're not interested. It's the inventory, stupid. We always got to figure out how much inventory they can provide. And, there's barter for everything you can think of, for shows, for services, for consultants, for rating services, you name it. But at the end of the day, if they want to use it for something that they can really sink their teeth into, we think this is the place that they can do it.
I just love the fact that any radio station in any size market can participate, because we tend to still think that, the big promotions are only in the bigger markets like in Miami. How can a radio station in Gainesville, Florida send, people on a trip to resort in not just the Caribbean, but let's say Europe, on a Greek getaway. Well, they can, and this is an opportunity. It also is an opportunity for me to share a long-held idea. Hey, you know what? If you're a radio station and you're looking for something fun, why don't you team up with your local Fox affiliate and do the Wheel of Springfield? Because maybe Dennis Green can put together a plan where your listeners can win a trip to any Springfield. They just have to spin the wheel, and you could end up in Springfield, Illinois, or Springfield, Missouri. And hey, you know what? It's fun, and I'm sure that you could put the wheels in motion on that.
Well, we really could, and we've done a lot of other promotions. Our team of a half dozen sellers around the country, many of which are radio execs that have done this for a long time. They really relish the fact of working with these stations to come up with, maybe it's their spring or fall promotion, whatever it might be. We've done everything from free gas Friday in a market when gas prices were going up, and we did gift card, I should say, reward card giveaways for that. When Alexa skills were a big deal, we were giving away Alexa dots that we could customize. So really anything that they can think of that they want, merchandise, shirts, hats, koozies, you name it. We could do that, as well as the trips if they want to do the trips. And listen, if they want to do it on their own, they can, but we make it turnkey. So they can come in. If the trip isn't there, we can customize a trip. But the thing that they need to think about is, hey, and we did some stuff. We sent people to the Super Bowl this year. We send people to golf tournaments. We'll send them to the World Series concerts. We sent them to Taylor Swift concerts, the Sphere in Las Vegas. So you name it, any place that they want to go. Again, as long as we can make that barter work and it puts it to work for them, then I think it's a good proposition for both parties.
Dennis, before we conclude our podcast, I just wanted to go back to your prior experience as a senior vice president of affiliate sales and broadcast operations at Westwood One. Also, earlier in your career, you served as head of multimedia syndication for Bloomberg. If you were to look back at that experience and now look at radio today and look at what you're doing, is there one thing that has pretty much stayed the same when it comes to the fundamentals on how radio can still be highly successful for delivering ROI to a marketer seeking large audiences?
Well, the one thing, Adam, that remains as the stalwart, and I think it will remain as long as the business continues, is content is king. If you have good content, people will come to listen to it. Now, will they listen to it on radio? Sure. But they'll listen to it on a smart speaker, on a stream, on your phone, where they consume it. And that's why the technology is so cool. Things like Q, things that are going on there, Soundstage, other places. You just want to be able to consume that content anywhere that you can. So it's really great for us to be involved now through Key Networks, but through years with Westwood One, whether it was news, sports, talk, entertainment, you name it. We do AccuWeather here through our partnership with Key United, which sells all of our inventory at Key Networks and United Stations. So again, it really comes down to content. And that's the one thing that you go backwards 2, 3, 4, 5 decades, and you look forward. And if the content is good and people are getting something that they can't get anywhere else, then they will consume it. And people, more importantly, advertisers will want to have their message associated with it. And that's the thing that we all have to do as syndicators, is realize that we're fighting the same battle to bring dollars into our industry and into network radio. And we'll continue to do that. And I think that as much as it's a challenging time, and there's a lot of challenges that we face every day, because used to be it was radio for the audio side of business, and now it's audio, and there's so many places to consume it. But again, if it's good content, as they say in Field of Dreams, build it and they'll come.
Any final thoughts on the Radio Hall of Fame, and a reminder on how individuals can submit their nominations?
Absolutely. Well, radiohalloffame.com, very easy. Go there. You can see all the different inductees that we've had previously. You can learn about the members on our committee, and you can make the suggestion for nominations through March 31st. So we get through the process, and it will all culminate on Thursday, October 8th in Chicago. With the 2026 induction class, and that class will be announced probably sometime in June once we get the vote finalized. And I want to shout out Andrew Rosen and the folks at Miller Kaplan that audit the process for us and do a great job. So please go on to the website, check it out. There'll be information on tickets and our tribute book advertisement for folks that want to participate, and that will come out once we announce the class. And I also want to mention one other thing about the Radio Hall of Fame. We have the inductees, the living inductees, we have the executives, but we have a category called the legends, and we'll select those later this summer, and those are posthumous inductees. And we did that simply because there's a lot of people that served this industry very well, and people tend to forget because we lost them years ago. So we go back, and every year we put 8 posthumous inductees into the Radio Hall of Fame, full Radio Hall of Fame members, and we call it the Legends category. So we will do that as well. And there's some big names on that one.
Well, thank you so much for sharing more about the Radio Hall of Fame, a little bit about some of the other things going on with Key Networks and Sun and Fun Networks. Dennis, it has really been a pleasure having you on our podcast.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate the opportunity.
And we thank you, the viewer, for tuning into this radio television business report in focus video podcast. It was presented by .fm, streaming social podcast or broadcast. To get a .fm domain name by heading over to get.fm today. From our global headquarters in Boca Raton, Florida, I am Adam R Jacobson. Be sure to find us each and every business day for the latest in broadcast media news at rbr.com. And subscribe and like this channel on YouTube as well. Share it with your friends. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.